Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the DVC Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Marissa Hargitay Peloton Bike, also known as Marissa Peloton.
Hello, hello.
I haven't used that in a while.
I had somebody call me the other day and use that full description.
Really?
Thanks to Pete.
They just have to have your name changed. From senior editor of DVC Fan and member relations supervisor for DVC Rental Store, Mr. Paul Krieger.
Hey, everybody.
A DVC sales associate with DVCResaleMarket.com, Ms. Linda Smith.
Hey there.
And co-owner and realtor with MovingToOrlando.com, Mr. Sean Falk.
Hey, everyone.
And, of course, our producer, Mr. Corey Fiasconaro.
Welcome home.
So, what are we talking about? We're talking about the year in review.
Yes.
Okay, because this is like the 87th show I've recorded today.
You're not done yet.
And I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet, apparently. And one of our contributors, Lauren He, has written up a year in review that is going up with this DVC year in review that is going up with this show. And we thought we would talk about, I don't know if I'm going to call 2021 the dumpster fire that 2020 was. But you know, it's been an interesting year.
Yeah, we've seen.
And I'm going to throw it over to you, Paul. Let you start us off.
We've seen a little bit of everything, and I you know, in no particular order, or well, I guess these are sort of in an order of sort of when things have been announced throughout the year, but. There were high points, there were low points, there were surprises that that we all got a little excited about along the way. First and foremost is, you know, Pointsgate was something we thought we had gotten we had gotten out of the realm of gates, as we used to call them.
Silly man.
Yeah, but we should not be surprised when DVC throws another curveball our way, and so sort of the year started off with Pointsgate being focused around the new point charts that had come out at the end of, I guess, 2020 that were for the 2022 calendar year, and if we all harken back to many years ago, sort of the Disboards community sort of looked at the point charts, scratched their heads, and sort of said, something's not quite right here. And those sort of discussions got Disney to change the point charts a few years ago, and then it occurred again this year. You know, so I think if DVC has learned anything, it's hopefully not to think that we're.
I think the message here is that they haven't learned anything. Because every time these point charts are released, there is one thing that you can be certain of. You can be absolutely certain of. People on the board, on disboards.com, on the DVC forums, are going to pore over those charts. And these are not stupid people. They know this stuff. I think they know this stuff better than most of the people that work at DVC know this stuff. And I know that the bane of DVC's existence sometimes. And they're going to pour over this stuff. And they understand the contracts and they understand the legality. And they're immediately going to raise these issues. And my question to DVC is, why aren't you hiring some of the people from the boards to vet this stuff before you put them out? Wouldn't that
have a focus group?
Yeah.
Because apparently your lawyers can't. And I don't know whether this is something, when they do this stuff, if it's intentional or if it's negligence or ignorance, or I don't know. You used to work for them.
I just don't think they think about it, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, attorneys, great, but attorneys are not selling this. They're not on the front line. The sales guides, I always said for years, you know, if you're going to have a committee and you're going to come up with something, why don't you put a sales guide on the committee with you? Because we have that frontline experience and input to it. But they never did that.
I think some of it too is like the trail of things, because we run into it a lot on the real estate side, where especially with like new builds, where like the sales rep says one thing and then underwriting says a different thing and this one says a different thing. And so while the first person said this and they believed it genuinely, somebody with more authority changed it, and then they didn't know it changed, but they knew information that they didn't know they needed to tell them because that should have never come up. And then just when you have like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, essentially. So if they're hiring, they're really just throwing another voice in there, which is a voice of reason, but also a voice of negative where Disney's wanting to go with it. So for them, it's just kind of we need them to shut up, because like because if it's quick with that kind of stuff, and then it'll be like, oh, that gets fixed somewhere down the road, like someone else in the process will fix it. And that happens even with the new build part, and people watch and they're like, but it doesn't. Like, if it's someone has to do it, you can't just keep passing the responsibility off to everyone else, which it ends up on the members to sort through, I guess.
I look, I'm incredibly proud of that community on the boards. And honestly, DVC owners should be grateful to them. Mm-hmm. They should be grateful to them, because they are like the keepers of the flame, and they're watching this stuff. They're watching this stuff so carefully, and they have no trouble calling DVC out on this stuff. And no trouble starting to round up class action lawsuits if they need to. And they get on the phone and they talk to executives at DVC. And they tell them, look, this, and this. It's an amazing community. It really is. It's an amazing community. I know that they drive the DVC people crazy, but I'm perfectly okay with that. Because it's done it is done in the best interests of the members.
And I think they demand transparency. And I think sometimes Disney does do a lot, and DVC especially does have a lot of gray areas or language that leaves room for interpretation. And I think the people who are part of this DVC community, they just want transparency. Like, if it's going to be bad news, just tell us it's going to be bad news.
and Disney in general.
Yes.
They consider concrete to be transparent. Not. So I'm like I said, it's something I have a lot of pride in. I have a lot of pride in that community.
Yep.
Not that I had anything to do with it other than starting the boards. Other than owning disboards.com and making sure the bills get paid so it stays up. That's about as much as I had to do with that community, but I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, with all this DVC stuff, I mean, there's people that spend a lot of time and effort combing through all the details, sort of looking at the minute numbers and stuff like that. I mean, it takes a lot of research. And,
it does.
Even I'm incredibly grateful for that community in terms of how we report things on DVC Fan, and being able to take the knowledge that they have and then share it with the masses is, I think, very important, because every DVC member needs to know that these things are occurring with their membership.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. What's next on our trip down memory lane?
Next is this was a big shock to me. I think it just came out of nowhere for most people, but the expansion of the Grand Floridian that is coming in early summer next year, as it's supposed to be. The big Pine Key building, which is one of the existing buildings that is currently at the Grand Floridian, is going to be revamped and flipped into a Disney Vacation Club property. And so we've got more DVC at Grand Floridian on the way.
That's exciting. I like that news.
But like you said, it came out of left field.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming. I mean, had anybody heard anything?
There was no insight on it.
No, nothing got leaked out. So it's kind of a really cool thing that's on the horizon for us, to have 200 more studios, and so many families use those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a great thing.
The only thing that my head goes to is thinking that, this was their response to Reflections. Mm-hmm. I don't know that really made the list. It might be on here somewhere, but it's always it'll never be announced. But I think we can call the nail in the coffin of Reflections in its current form at the moment, which was the planned Disney Vacation Club property that was being built
Slash rehab.
Forgot that part of the title. But yeah, I think maybe this is sort of that response to them sort of acknowledging that they needed another property to be able to showcase here at Walt Disney World. They didn't want to necessarily put the money into building an entire new resort like Reflections, and so this was an easy little flipperooski for them to make some money.
All right.
Next up, Grand Californian hits over $300 a point. We talked about this, I think, in a couple shows ago. What did it start out at?
Oh man, high 80s, low 90s.
Oh, that's just that.
Think
hurts.
about. Think about that.
Yeah,
I remember when it was 100. I remember.
yeah. And I think
Who was president then? I'm kidding.
Oh my God. Please don't ask me that, Pete.
I mean, on top of it being that low, sales guides were getting like gifts and major incentives for selling it. So it
Was it a tough sell?
Yeah. Oh. The West Coast already had their arms up with timeshare. So they weren't selling to West Coast guests. They were convincing all their East Coast members to buy Grand Cal, which is why resale has been so successful, because it's now going to the rightful owners of people who are actually going to use it for that priority window.
See, and that's my only lingering concern about the new Disneyland Tower is whether or not, like, based off of that historical like precedent, like, because I mean, most of DVC sales occur here at World. And so, like, yes, all of us diehards that like are obsessed with Disney and DVC and Disneyland, like, yeah, we're going to buy it in a heartbeat. But like, is it going to sell to the masses?
I think they've done a better job about going more global and online with Disney Vacation Club. So even taking away the normal tour where you go and you meet a guide at Saratoga Springs, they're not really doing that much anymore. Mm-hmm. You can actually do an online presentation and webinar. So I think that'll work in their favor where they didn't have those tools at all.
Don't you think that the California market has become a lot more educated and in tune with DVC since Grand Californian?
Oh, I also think with that, because Anaheim shut down the project for the new hotel that they were going to build, they already have a hotel shortage at Disney
Demand is so
Land
high.
Anyway. Like, if you want to stay on site, it's almost impossible to get a room. And if you do get a room, it's like $700 plus a night to get anything. So I think that really is where that tower comes in handy. And I easily think it's going to sell so fast. I think it's going to be the quickest sell of everything on the list so far of, what's been recently in the works.
I told Lauren that I would mention this in the show. We are filming this a couple weeks earlier, so other things that might come out between now and the show are going to be potential point charts for 2023. So that'll be an interesting development that'll also sort of factor into this year, and also the condo association meeting. So this article will have some additional things. There are also some like minor things in here, but I think the next big one that sort of I think we've been waiting for, but didn't think would ever occur is Terry Schultz is no longer the senior vice president of Disney Vacation Club, and that post has been taken over by Bill Dirksen.
Sure, she's a perfectly nice lady, and she's gone off to where the place where they send the place where they send the Disney Disney executives to run and play in the fields and spend their remaining years of their career. Because where did they send her again? It was like, because I always make the joke that the world for a while it was worldwide operations, which nobody knew what the hell that was, but it was like just a post where they didn't do anything. And I said it was like, when your dad tells you, oh, we put the dog on a farm to go run and play in the field, when really the dog was put down. I'm sorry if you didn't know that. But that was worldwide operations, and now they've got another name for it.
Senior Vice President of Commercial Strategy for Disney Signature Experiences. the more words that you put in a title, the more confused I get as to what it actually means.
Well, that's the whole point. If it sounds good, but I think she's just like watching her computer waiting for emails to come in. I think that's what her job is now. But God bless. I thought she was terrible as an SVP and I made no secret of that. Like I said, I'm sure she's a perfectly nice person, but I didn't think she did a particularly good job. And right now, Bill Derrickson, jury's still out, but he fires a dog from Hilton Head. That's like his hello to the community. Yeah. I don't think it bodes well for the future.
They're going to replace it with a cat.
It's
It'll be more crushing.
It's Shadow and Terry Schultz on the farm.
Poor Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow has more talent. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? Shadow would have made a better SVP, if you ask me. But look, we'll see. We'll see what the new guy does. Bill.
Also, any of you trying to tell me that Shadow is not the original Shadow that was there when they built Hilton Head Resort?
Of course he is.
He totally is.
Of course he is.
And he looks great.
Right.
I think it's a she.
He looks great for his age.
I think it's a she. Yeah. I think Shadow's a she. In looking into it, yeah. We received, we had also in 2021, we had the exciting announcement that the website was going to go down for an entire weekend, which got us all excited that something miraculous was going to come down from the heavens and grace us with a functional website. And lo and behold, absolutely nothing changed.
Well, it's one of those scenarios where the website goes down for 2 days and nobody notices because it never works anyway.
Yep.
So, they were making this big announcement about it like it's Tuesday for you people. It's the number of times that, this is not just DVC. This is all Disney properties. I have never seen a Fortune 50 company with the resources, talent, and money that Disney has, and they can't get an app or a website to work right. It is absolutely mind-bending.
Yeah, it's a disaster every single time. And I don't know if anybody's ever tried to book one of the foreign Disney resorts, but it's even worse. So if you want to book Japan or Paris, oh my God.
Have you tried to do that online?
Yes. Oh, it's a nightmare. So absolute nightmare.
Better to wait 3 hours on the phone.
Oh yeah. Just pay the bill for the international call because it is a nightmare.
I think when we booked the Paris trip that never happened, I think we ended up calling. There's like some number that you can call in Orlando, and they'll patch you through to Paris, and then you don't have to pay like the international call fees and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Let's see what else happened in 2021. We talked about the website.
The minimum point purchase.
Minimum points increased again. That seems to be a yearly increase that is now occurring. 150 now to become a new direct Disney Vacation Club member and to get that elusive, wonderful blue membership card that gets you.
It's a blue membership screenshot now.
Now it is. Yes,
Digital.
yes, that's also on here. Yep.
Because apparently they don't make enough money to actually print the cards out anymore.
The whole point of the cards in the program blow my mind anymore from the standpoint of if cast members don't know exactly what to do, they tend to just give you the discount no matter what. Like it seems like more and more it's they're just taking the benefit of the doubt and so they're saying, okay, I'll apply the discount.
Well, it's so much of the experience is moving to your phone, right? So now we have to carry our membership card, which I did anyway, right? I already had the digital card saved, and I would show it. But I think about I think about older guests in particular that aren't tech savvy, that don't. My mother, God bless her, 92 years old. She still uses a flip phone. I try and get her. She loves her iPad, and I try and explain to the iPhone as a smaller version of the iPad. She's not listening. She has no interest. It's got to be Now, granted, that's an extreme case. But I don't think you need to be 92 to be in that boat.
Well, it does also apply a lot to people who are traveling from other countries. I mean, they don't have a phone plan here,
Right.
I mean, unless you're in a cell service that, has like reciprocity, or if you're just going to flip out your SIM card for something else. I mean, Disney does have Wi-Fi on site, which I'm sure that would be their excuse for that. But I mean,
Well,
good
just
luck with
remember,
that.
when we're
So,
talking about Disney, Wi-Fi has Wi-Fi.
yeah,
It's the
Well,
same
and
thing
if
on
your
cruise
phone
line.
dies, right?
Yeah.
So then if your phone dies, you're just out of luck. And
Yeah.
then you go,
You
hope
can
the
buy-
cast member trusts you.
yeah, or you can buy a lovely charger.
The rockets.
Yeah, you can make a purchase.
This really hit home for me when they announced Disney Genie, because a year or two ago, when Amy and I were at Disneyland, we were sitting waiting for a parade on the curb and got to chatting with the two people next to us. They were a little bit older, in their 50s.
Shut up. I'm gonna come over there and kick you in the head.
But the point is, like, they had paid for MaxPass for the day, and they had absolutely no clue how to use it. They didn't have the app downloaded. They didn't know how to access the App Store. And so it is negatively affecting, a portion of the people that are owners now with the digital membership card. And, we've been hearing this stuff with Disney Genie's launch as well. You do have to have a little bit of a tech savvy head to be able to operate it and be able to function it. And it's sad to sit down next to someone and realize that you spent your MaxPass that day and you've been on 12 rides, and this family hasn't been able to figure out one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I also would I never thought that the My Disney experience could be more annoying, but with Disney Genie, it definitely became more annoying because my plans now turned into my future plans, and then the rest is my Genie day. And it's like, just have all my plans in one spot. Like, I don't care if it's today or tomorrow. I want to see all my plans in one spot so I can see them all. But now it's like, oh no, I have to go to this panel to see what's going on today, what my dining reservation is today. And then if I want to see anything other than the day, it's in a completely new area. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
And
You
then
guys
there's
are
that.
tech savvy.
that was
And then there's that.
I think
So
that
that
was
leaves
like
the
the
rest of us
angriest
in-
that I've ever seen you.
Yeah, really.
Like,
It got very animated.
Like, yeah, there's like smoke coming out of your.
Well, and back to the
Well, you couldn't tell with
accountability.
all the hair, though.
No, I don't like Disney Genie. No.
Well, and back to the accountability of the cast member, how difficult it's going to be for them not to have that blue card. There it is. It's kind of like a driver's license now. It's digital, right? And how many times have we seen, and they've been on the blogs too, is that our resale members have actually bought the Sorcerer Pass. They've actually bought
Yeah.
it. So now what's going to happen when they go to use that is Walt Disney World. Is a bell going to go off? Ding, 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 ding. Your resale. Are they going to have to refund the money? It's a very slippery slope on that already. So time's going to tell how effective this is going to be.
And for as much attention as the cast members pay, what you can do is just take a picture of a blue rectangle. And when they ask to see your, just show that. Like, okay.
And if they can't find you in the system, your name's
Well,
Pete.
like when I go for a discount, it's all I do is I show the screenshot.
Yeah.
They don't look at it. They don't enter anything in.
No.
Like, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's take a picture of a blue rectangle. It'll work just as well, I think.
Yep.
And the Disney Visa, let's all face it, that's pretty effective out there anyway from Chase. So
Yeah.
a lot of people have gone to that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. I love my Chase Visa. I love
It's a great card.
Also on the list, Disney Vacation Club started their buyback program. They became pretty aggressive with reaching out to, I think we know, Old Key West owners specifically. There were some Saratogas, some Animal Kingdoms. It basically became a little bit of everybody, I think, by the end of it.
Yeah.
But basically sort of doing a campaign, reaching out to members and offering you about 3 cents per point for your contracts.
Pretty good.
If you would like to turn them over and receive that wonderful financial payout.
What was it again? What were they offering?
On
Do you
average,
remember?
it was $80 to $90 a point,
Okay.
depending on the resort.
Yes,
And-
it is. And it's so far away from the $30 to $40 per point difference, coming over to resell and listing.
And it's almost unethical.
Yeah, it feels dirty.
It feels dirty. It really does. They know what these points are worth. They know what they're getting on the resale market.
They know what they're going to turn around and resell them for.
And they know what they're going to resell them for.
yeah.
And they are banking
On people not knowing.
on people not knowing. And again, I've said this before. They pay lip service to how much they value their members. And then they do stuff like that and expect us to take them seriously.
Well, it's the transparency. If they had just a bottom line that said, hey, we'll always buy your contract back at $80 a point, period, then fine. You have that as an option. But this kind of like secretive, like, let me call you. Maybe you don't know. You haven't used your membership in 3 years. And so they're kind of like jumping on the fact that this is a member who hasn't used their membership in 3 years versus having
Let's see if
just
we
a
can take
bottom line
advantage of them.
promotion. Right.
Well, I think the worst part about it is who are you targeting with this? Because the only people who are going to be receptive to $80, $90 a point are people who paid $50 a point way back at the beginning, which obviously just because time goes by, they have to be the people who are the oldest members who are probably going to be the least aware now and tech savvy towards the resale market and towards being knowledgeable. So you're almost essentially preying on your original members.
Rob Lindsay's going to choke you in your sleep.
Well, there are a lot of people like, if I were even like my dad was late 60s when he passed a couple years ago. He wouldn't have been able to do this, but or in the early 90s, he was in his late 30s, early 40s when this happened. So and then he absolutely would not have kept up with the tech side of this or the DVC side of it. And definitely for every Rob Lindsay that's out there that's so in tune with it, there's like thousands of other people that just casually had it, or I'll leave it to my kids, and now their kids like don't want it, or they're like, it's just not something they need anymore. So I think it just sucks that the people most affected by it, and they had to sit down and be like, what's going to be the price? Who's our potential market to buy it back? And it's literally uninformed people. Like, let's just go after people, not even just uninformed people, but our original members who are the oldest members, both in age and time. And how do we just kind of pull the wool over their eyes?
And it's a numbers game. If we make enough phone calls, we'll get enough people to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a numbers game. And really, it's scummy. It's scummy.
Well, and I think both of you hit, the nail on the head, because I spoke to a member a couple of weeks ago that got that call. It was an older member. And they said, you know what? I thought it was maybe a fraud call. Because I never thought that Disney...
It kind of was, but not in the way she was thinking.
Would ever call me and say that. And I said, no. I said, you can be comfortable that it's not, but that's the reality. And she goes, well, why wouldn't I just come here and list my membership? Exactly. Because they're not aware. So many of them are not aware. And a lot of it, unfortunately, has to do with they've been members for decades.
Now, they were telling people, if I'm not mistaken, you should go and check out what your options are and do your research. But they must have assumed that there were people that wouldn't, and I'm sorry. I can't get past the fact. It just feels scummy. It really does. I think that's the right word, Fiasco.
Yeah.
Scummy. And unfortunately, I'm not surprised.
You know what you buy back with right of first refusal. Like you know what you don't like let go through, and you buy it back because you think it's too good of a deal, so you take the contract. You know that price, and that's not it.
And you know what? And Disney, if anyone, if they want to preserve market value, then pay people what these are worth.
Yeah.
But you're not going to do that.
That was the worst part in the email, the ambiguous language, because they did have a phrase of, we're going to buy it for 10% higher than the buyback. Well, you're buying back from us, for example, Saratoga Springs, right, at the mid 120s per point, but you're offering them $80 per point. So how is that 10% higher? Maybe somewhere at some brokerage, they were able to get something at $70 per point from somebody who didn't know what they were selling. But to put that in an email, that language, that's where it really became like, why would you say that?
Yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall for the meetings where this stuff comes up. Where this stuff is, that brain trust comes up with stuff like this. So, anything else on the list, Paul?
I think that's enough.
Think that's enough?
On
we cover
that
it enough?
note,
It's been a fun 2021. If I would add anything to this list, I would just say 2021 has been a great year. It started off this relationship with World of DVC, and I know that that's changed my life, and so I've got you to thank for that. For sure.
I'll tell you, it's been a phenomenal. Just having this conversation with Nick a few weeks ago. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with how this is going and how great it's been to work with you guys. And
we've loved your community too.
I
It's
know
opened
you
the
do.
door of some amazing people.
They are
and they're
incredible.
so engaged. And we've had great members and great guests, but to open the door to these guests, especially us who have worked for Disney for so many years, it's almost like going on a member cruise where you're like, they're all here. We're part of the club.
The camaraderie is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's warm and fuzzy. And you know what? It's genuine.
It is. It's and honestly, I say it all the time on camera and off. It's an amazing community. They piss me off sometimes, but I love them. My mother pisses me off sometimes, but I love her. But no, this has been wonderful, and looking forward to 2022.
Ditto on that.
So, all right, folks, thanks for joining us. That will do it for this episode of the DVC Show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week. Or actually, I'll see you again in just a few minutes when the next portion of our marathon show continues.